I'm a great believer in a level of amateurishness that means anybody can do it. You know, you don't have to have a team of 17 people that takes 15 minutes credit to roll. Anybody can talk to anybody and use this kind of new stuff.
Sure.
So, hey, Brendan, really good to talk to you.
Nice to talk to you.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
I don't know what you want to say, but I was really, really, really seriously interested in what you were saying there about going to funerals with people and that whole street community being a real community for you.
That is my work. That's what I do. It is a community. It is part of witnessing and being present. That's what I do with my work. When you engage working with individuals that are experiencing homelessness, you need to be present with them. You need to be find a common language. You need to start to if you're going to engage with them, you need to start to find that common language. And it starts when you say hi. It starts to when you see their face, when they see your face. And it may take one day. It's going to take many, many days. It may take many, many years. I have some people that I have worked with for 15 years. I have some people I am just starting the engagement process. I do not know the name yet. I've seen them 15, 16, 17 times. They're getting a little bit closer. We're starting the journey, and it is a journey on planet Earth. In America is funny, and I say that word. I often use the word life on planet Earth is a challenge for all of us. And I use a lot of metaphor, a lot of analogies. I use a lot of laughter in my work. Being a formerly homeless individual gives me a different perspective. One of the first things, I got this job when I was in the shelter when I was homeless. I became homeless as a result of depression and anxiety. I've got a master's in systems work. I've always been interested in communications and languaging and just communicating with people. It's always fascinated me and just connecting with people. My background is in systems work. I'm a family therapist. That's where I got my master's from University of Massachusetts in. I have at this point over about 50 years clinical experience. When I was homeless back in 1999, I had resigned my position working with child abuse and neglect. I was the director for foster care and adoption for Department of Children and Families for Franklin and Hampshire counties. It was
that's a hugely responsible role.
It was, you know, and I loved the position in many, many ways. It was the most challenging position that I ever worked with. Prior to that, I had done outreach in the hill towns working with disadvantaged families where child abuse and neglect was an issue. I had done that for 6 years. Before that, I was the director for Belchertown State School, which was for severely disabled children. I'm talking developmentally about 1 month old, but 22 years old. So I had a staff of 20. So I worked with developmentally disabled individuals. Then I was the director I was a director for that program. Then I loved doing the outreach with family therapy team, and I loved that. But I raised 4 children, and I needed more money, and DCF paid a lot of money, and I loved the work. I loved doing systems work with supervising the families, and teaching parenting classes and training my staff to do that. But then my children grew up. They went through some of the best colleges, Columbia, MIT. They graduated, and then I could do what I wanted to do, which was go back to my love. But was doing this. But I also went through a very difficult time. My depression got worse. My anxiety got worse, and I had to get a handle on that. and I went through a difficult time, and that led to and I chose to leave DCF, and I didn't know what I wanted to do, and I went and spiraled out of control of my depression, and I lost everything. Ended up sleeping in the woods and ended up in a shelter. But you know, it was the best thing that ever happened, because I share that narrative now with the homeless, and the use of self is a big thing with me in working with a client. You need to share your narrative. Everybody's curious about your narrative, and I set boundaries around it. Boundaries are a very important thing, but I think sharing one's narrative with the homeless, they're curious about, they know I'm homeless, was homeless, and I think it's important to share that narrative.
Absolutely. I mean,
you know,
even if you haven't been a homeless person, I mean, I've not been homeless in that sense, but I talk about my life.
I talk about my life, my fact that I'm an amputee. I share that experience, you know.
And it changes the relationship with people. If you come in there kind of, we don't talk about me, we're here to talk about you.
Oh, no. That's traditional clinic work.
Yeah.
That is bullshit.
And you're locking people into that.
That's bullshit in terms of like working with the homeless. I talk about my loss with a hand, and how it's the best thing that ever happened to me now, but I don't, sugarcoat it. So when it happened, it was like, I cried, I went through this, I went through taking a lot of drugs, I drank a lot. Drank way too much. You know, it was 2.5 years of hell, 10 surgeries. I had a prosthesis. I ended up wearing it as a Halloween costume. It was a great Captain Hook, you know. And I told him that story too. We laughed a hell of a lot about it. The homeless resource group that I set up, that I run to this day, 16 years later, is probably one of the first ones in the state. But at 7 a.m. in the morning to 10 a.m. at First Church is where I do the talk thing with, you know, my clients. I get up every morning, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m., October through it ends in 2 weeks through May. I have coffee, donuts, bagels, hot chocolate, tea, all the local newspapers. It's a no agenda group. It's a homeless resource support group. The homeless are welcome there. It's a place to stay warm. They can come in if they want to take a nap, fine. They can have coffee, donuts, bagels. They can come and go. They can go and have a cigarette if they want. There are some rules. They can't swear, scream, holler, behavioral limits. That's it.
But it's pretty low demand in other respects.
Absolutely.
So there's no great expectations as to what you will do. You don't have to get involved.
But I sit at, there's one large table, somewhat smaller than this, and I'm sitting at the table with the newspapers. They want to take a newspaper and read it separately. All my only request is put the newspaper back at the end of the group. All the newspapers given away. They can have them. If I have fruit there, if it's donated, they have fruit. They can take any donuts or bagels left. They can have them. Now, I'm sitting there, it's an information and referral. I have a table there where they sign in. I have information about domestic violence, opiate abuse, bulletins.
So it's all
and
there.
They can grab it if they want. And I'm sitting there at the table. And, but when I first began, they didn't know what it was about. I'm there for information and referral. If they want to know, first thing they ask is, not working at drug treatment or alcoholism treatment or, mental health counseling. Where can I get a warm coat? Where can I get health care coverage? Basic stuff sometimes. Or where can I get a shelter? But they also now, at this point, see me setting up appointments with clients. My other clients come in and, hey, Brendan, when's our appointment? Whatever. I have my appointment book there. I have my business cards there. They see what I do. And sooner or later, they get cute, I don't have their name. Sometimes I never have their name. They come in, they leave, fine. I say, take care, be well, my friend. I say, goodbye to everybody. Take care. Be well, my friend. Have a good day. If you want a warm place to stay, you can go to the library. You can go here. Don't go here because you'll get arrested. They don't like you over here. Nothing to do with you, but they don't want you hanging.
Do you get a fair amount of new people coming through? I mean,
we get people coming at certain different times during the summer, like May through August. We got people, hikers coming up through Vermont, New Hampshire, because it's a nice hiking area. And it's 5 major colleges, of course, so the young ones blend like crazy. So you couldn't find, if they didn't come in through my group, you couldn't find them a needle in a haystack for the 24 and under. Now I can find them because they come to my homeless group, come in for tea or coffee. I know them and I can spot them. Or if I'm sitting on the church steps and I have the chalk drawn, they come and see me. Hey, Brendan. After a while, they get curious about what is this guy doing, But then I work with the Needle Exchange in town, Tapestry, too, and they have my business cards right on their desk. And so I work really close with them because I do the memorials for anyone who passes, and they know that I care, and they know that I do that for their for friends, and they come to the memorials, and I speak about my feelings for this person and my work with it. Like Brian, who died, I worked with him 16 years through one. I moved him from 7 apartments in and out of detoxes, and they know my work with him. So at his memorial, there were like 30 of his friends, and they were all upset, and I was sitting down with them. I had my mic, like I do it like Oprah does, in a circle. I always do a circle. And I talk, open it up by Reverend Todd does a little prayer, but I'm the main MC, and I talk about, open it by sharing my feelings and my stories. I tell Brian's stories about the good times and whatever, and you know, times when he called me upside the street. Hey, I'm here. I got kicked out. I didn't do anything. I'm going like, well, we'll talk about that another time. You probably did, dude, but we'll pick up on that tomorrow. Right now, are you okay? And so,
and this is really about treating the homeless as the community of homelessness.
Yeah,
people
it's a community, and it's
as important as any other community, and as much right to.
And I did another memorial for Mubu Kukula. He was African, and we had over 250 people turn up for the memorial. The homeless community, 250 from Amherst.
People.
Yeah. Now, what we did with Mubu is I have an advisory committee. The homeless community pulls together. I have an advisory committee. Now, his widow. And it was on the advisory committee. Other homeless, we planned the music, we planned the reception, we did fundraising because he died suddenly of a heart attack. He was a chronic alcoholic too, but we raised funds, and his wife was in touch with his 2 sisters and mother in South Africa. So we raised enough monies because he was a graduate of Hampshire College, very good college locally. So we raised enough money to ship his body back to Africa. We raised enough money for her to go back next summer to visit his mother and sisters in Africa. And
so this is a real respectful send-off.
Right, and then Eliot prohibits me from contacting the press, but didn't prevent me from dropping a dime with a friend to contact the press. So I had a friend contact the press. Jay, well, he'll know it now, but that's okay.
we can edit out that bit if you
that's
prefer.
Okay. I don't care. But I had a friend contact the press, and so we had the editor said, "This is good story." So,
well,
and it was a very
That's why I'm
So but he was also the prince of the streets because he was so gracious with his, South African accent. And he was considered, he called himself a prince in South Africa, and he had all these gracious manners.
He might even have been.
He could have been, but he said he was a prince in South Africa, and he would say, "Thank you, you gracious person." He was always this. So they called him the Prince of Northampton, Prince of the Streets.
He might have been playing it up a little bit.
Oh yes. But anyways, so the editor said,
"Why not have that kind
So
of
the
fun
editor
with
came, took colored pictures of it. We had a photographer there at the memorial. We had to have the sanctuary, it was so big. And anyways, long story short, the next day in the Hampshire Gazette, front page, color, Prince of the Streets, and the homeless community comes out in their finery for the reception, And
what that says to other homeless people about how much they are appreciated and respected and can be a real whole-rounded person.
And then one of the shout-outs in the memorials is, we love you, Brendan. And then, but that wasn't even the highlight. And then they practiced, some of the homeless, they came up all and read poems and whatever, and one of them was in Spanish and one of them was in his native African tongue. But one of them came up, they had this, they did this original drum song. And the gentleman that was playing the drums was like everybody in town. A lot of the providers in street, the townies, I call them townies, the ones that aren't homeless, are scared to death of this guy because he wears chains. He's 6'4" and he doesn't shave his beard. And he's chronically homeless. He doesn't scare me because I know him. He may be, schizophrenic and doesn't take his meds, but he doesn't scare the bejesus out of me. I get calls from businessmen, who wanted to move on. I go up and talk to him and go like, "You're scaring the heck out of customers." But he came in and he played the drums, and another guy had rewritten the song to Buffalo Soldier
Oh, yeah.
in honor of his friend.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but the only problem is that he brought a coffee cup and put it on the altar, and it wasn't coffee. So the longer the song went on, he kept drinking more, and it was vodka. So I had to get the proverbial hook out because the minister, Reverend Todd, said, "I think he's getting a little too tipsy." And I'm going like, I went up and said, "You're better. Pull it back a little bit. Tone it down." So I had to bring the
But
drum.
that sounds like any family Christmas party that you ever
Yeah, but it was
that's
like,
not a unique.
oh yeah, but it was just like, so we had so much fun too in celebration of his life, and then we ended the memorial with Lady Black Mombasa playing, which is a beautiful, beautiful. She's so wonderful. And it's just like, if you don't know her song, if you ever hear that, it's just this wonderful African tone and singing. So we had that in a loudspeaker.
Lady in Black.
Lady Black Mombasa.
Lady Black Mombasa.
It's a beautiful. She's African, and it's just like, but yeah. So he ended up going back to Africa in a casket, paid for by funds raised by locals.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of my ongoing work, it's when I work with the homeless, it's an ongoing, involving. I believe in instilling hope. I have also part of my homeless resource group is I have a speaker series where I have formerly homeless individuals come in and speak to the group about their journey through homelessness, maybe 20 minutes.
And this is at the church?
At the church, my same group.
This is the
at
same group.
7 to 9 is the group, and then at 9 to 10 is by appointment if they want to meet with me. But at 9 I have someone during the winter, because it's the coldest time, so I'm going to have more speakers, more time. They'll stay in more because it's cold.
So, and people will come and talk about...
I have ones that I know have been
successful.
successfully housed.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have a couple that I know have been successfully housed for years, and people in town know them really well when they were down and out and, on the streets. Or I have one woman that was down and out, chronic alcoholic, battered woman. Now she's got her children back. She's got a business. She's settled in the town, not too far from here, has her new house. So she comes back and talks about her journey through housing, how she used to avoid me as a provider and run around all town just to avoid me.
I bet she enjoys talking about avoiding you.
Oh, yeah, she loves it. I said, I could never find you. And one day she finally told me, she said, I used to spend hours running around all town just avoiding you. And I'm going like, I kind of knew that because I couldn't find you anywhere. But now she comes back, and I believe it's my Hope speaker series, but I have her and then other people come in. It has to be my casework. It can be I invite other providers to say, if you got somebody who's been successful, invite them in. Mm-hmm. So, and then I have some other providers come in, so they get a sense of what other providers are about, so they don't look at the stigma.
Because and it's just like going to a talk. There's no
yeah. So they have a
expectation.
conversation, but then talk is just a few minutes to set the tone. I want them to have conversation, question and answer, have a conversation, because they already got the coffee and the tea and the donuts, and then I got herbal tea there too. So, and when I can get fruit, because fruit's so expensive, I mean, it's always the cheap sugar stuff that I can get donated. It's not the quality fruit, and they wouldn't come for the fruit anyways, because the addicts really love the sugar anyway. So they're going to come, especially in America. And I heard you say, and I agree. Well, if I could get them to come for all fruit and yogurt, I'd have all fruit and yogurt.
I bet there is sugar in everything.
Oh yeah, there is. I say there's sugar and health food. So
I was staying in a B&B in Boston on my way here, and the woman didn't have sugar in the house. Yeah. There was no sugar, except that every breakfast cereal that she had was encrusted with sugar. I even considered scraping it off to put it in my tea.
Yeah. But just to get closure, that one guy that I had to hook under that got drunk. Okay. He was so mad at me that I did that. He didn't talk to me for a year, and he had been a chronic drinker for 9-10 years, and his tag on the street was Pyro, and Jay says, Pyro, you put him in housing? He's a fire setter. I said, no. He burnt his feet at a campfire, and he jumped around, so they called him Pyro. But it's now, I said, Jay, I'm placing him in housing, and he's not really a fire setter, and I've got him on medication. A year later, after working with him for 10 years, He's on medication. He's been sober now for a year, and I'm placing him in housing in about 3 months. I'm going out to Asheville, town further north of here. He's going to go into housing now. But he was mad at me for a year.
So when he comes back to your group on the church steps and tells that story,
I'm going to have him be in the speaker series.
Absolutely,
because someone else died. Someone else had died. I did another memorial, and then he came up to me and he's when Mubu died, someone else died. He came up to me and he said, he came up to me and he cried. He put his arms around me and he said, I wasn't really mad at you. I haven't been mad at you. I was just sad because Mubu died and he was my best friend. And I said, I know you weren't mad at me, and you was just upset because you lost your friend Mubu. I was never mad at you about that. I'm just glad that you can just say that, and we'll always miss Mubu.
Correct.
He was a nice man.
I think this thing's going to run out of its battery any moment now.
Yep. That's fine.
Plus, there's a limit to how much. So I think probably this is a good moment to wrap
Sure,
up.
but that's why I wanted to get some closure.
Absolutely.
I looked at the clock and it was running out. That's why I wanted to get a segue. I was watching the clock.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Brendan, thank you so much. That's
You're welcome.
Really great stuff.
Okay.
Cheers.
Yep. Have a good day.
Right.